Welcome back, everyone, to the Talkin Twats F1 podcast. And you're joined by myself, Richie Skills. We've got Big Matt, and I'm very delighted to say we're joined by Noah once again. Great to have you all on board. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
I have a heart attack. This is the best day of my life, although it's not finished yet. So I'm not happy.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Still recovering from the absolute scenes, and the scenes have not yet ended, but we're going to talk about them anyway, because why not?
Why not? And let's just go balls deep into this one, because we got a hell of a lot to talk about. It's not over, like Noah says. We thought it was all over with 5 laps to go in this race, but there was so much that happened before that as well. Let's talk about the circuit, the modifications. I think we didn't deliver in terms of like the pure racing that we expected, but I think overall a bit of an improvement at the circuit, lads.
The track is all right. I think the improvements at the end of the straight and the chicanes in the last sector really improved the racing capabilities. You were able to follow the cars, I think, more easily, so that's all right. Although Abu Dhabi is still, and it will be, it's a hard track to follow. So yeah, that won't change, but it's a good track. Yeah,
I agree. I think the changes they've made are good. They've progressed the racing. I think we were a bit worried about what they've done at the end of the second back straight, but actually that turned out to be a really good corner for racing. We saw in the Formula 2 especially, it was really good. It, like Noah says, though, it's still, Abu Dhabi is notoriously difficult to follow through, and I think that's comes down to the fundamental track layout. I think the tweaks they've made haven't resolved it. They've just slightly improved.
Yeah, and let's get this out of the way. Huge congratulations to Max Verstappen today. He took the line first. He crossed the line, the 2021 World Drivers' Championship, and he's had the pace all year. He's been at one with the car. He's pulled out some brilliant maneuvers, and he just had that bit of luck on his side, which he needed today. It's not had it in other times where we've seen it in Baku and like Silverstone, to name just a few, even the Hungarian first corner. So he got a bit of good karma back with him. But for my man, Lewis Hamilton, I couldn't be prouder of you today, man. You drove your heart out. You've done everything you had to do. You attacked down into the first corner. You got off the line beautifully. You've done everything you had to do. You couldn't box under that safety car. We didn't know if we was going to even finish, the race at that point. So Mercedes, I think they played it, the way they had to play it today. Red Bull, they had to attack this race. They had to go in it, full send, full max, scenario 7, whatever you want to call it. And, Max done exactly what he had to do as well. He applied the pressure. Big shout out to the Red Bull team. That is a team now as well. They've got a great, don't want to call him a number 2 driver, but they've got a great wingman. And the ultimate wingman today was Sergio Perez, who drove his absolute heart out. He was a Mexican lion roaring, tried to get that Dutch line across the line in P1. And, I was proud of Checo, the way he conducted himself. It was absolutely clean as you like. And I think he cost Lewis about 7 seconds in that phase of the race, brought his teammate back into it. But credit where it's due, Max Verstappen, the Red Bull outfit, they've hit the ground running this year, and they've taken the fight to the imperial, the faultless, the all-dominating Mercedes, who, again, just proved their dominance by wrapping up the Constructors' Championship today. But huge congrats to Max, and you can see what it means to him and his father. We've seen history repeat itself. We've seen, is that Glock? It's now been replaced with, is that Latifi in the final few laps there? And it's going to be etched in history forever. Noah, just talk us through your emotions. Go through that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It all started, at the beginning. Max had a really poor start, and Lewis took off. We had that incident in the first sector, no, the second sector, of course. In my opinion, I think the FIA did the right thing there. I don't think it was a penalty at the end. Max went in, he was ahead. It was his corner, but I think he went in too hot. So Yeah, I think that was the right decision from the FIA and from the teams as well. And yeah, from that point, Mercedes was quicker. Lewis, every lap on point. Max was trying, was pushing, it didn't work, and Mercedes was leading, quite clear. And yeah, Perez, I don't know, great defending, really smart. As you said, it cost Lewis, I think, yeah, 6-7 seconds. So Max really gained on him. Yeah, then everything stayed quiet. Lewis, yeah, went away again. Unfortunately, Kimi Räikkönen, braking failure. Yeah, super disappointing for the Iceman. Of course, no one wishes him a retirement in that way. Yeah, and then the safety car, and this is where the chaos starts. I just don't know what to say, honestly, because we don't know the results yet from the FIA. Mercedes are protesting, of course. Yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, nothing should be done. Well, at least for the drivers, nothing should be changed in the terms of the FIA. A lot has to be changed. Michael Masi, I don't know what he was doing, but 1 seconde, it wasn't the right choice, I think. Although it handed out Max the win. It happened. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't know what they were doing. They overruled their own books. So yeah, I don't know what to say about it, honestly. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. I think that I don't know what the FIA can do now, because I looked up. I saw what Mercedes press. I instantly looked up the rules to see exactly what it is that they're saying that the FIA haven't done by now. Yeah, I think that it's clearly what they've done isn't right. It's clearly in breach of the regulations. You have to let all cars go by, and then there has to be like a lap, or so I can't remember what it was exactly, but you have to have like a lap afterwards as well under safety car still, which we can clearly see there was not. So that's effectively, I assume that was Michael Masi who made the decision. And what he has effectively done is made the decision on the fly, which isn't okay. You can't make up your own rules. So I think it's a couple. Richie, you've commented on it before about Mr. Masi sort of making it up as he goes, and I think this is a big one that he's made up as he goes. And there is now, he could lose his job over this. You know, this is a big thing he's done that's technically he's not allowed to. So I think he maybe needs to go. Maybe someone in the FIA needs to go. I don't know. But the big thing now is how the hell are they gonna? What are they gonna do? Are they gonna null the race void? Are they just gonna take the results a lap early? Can they do any of that? Are they gonna be able to do anything? I don't know.
It's too difficult to say, but one man shouldn't hold that kind of power. That is clear and obvious. We have a stewards panel for a reason that go to every circuit, and Charlie was unique. I think it's quite outdated, this system where the race director can call it. It can be unfair, it can be fair, it can be unbiased, it can be biased basically. But I think there should be at least a 3-man panel, maybe more like you'll see, and it needs to be a unanimous decision. I know F1 is at breakneck speeds, so yeah. First thing, of course, it was a safety car at that point in the race. You've got a car sideways on the track, and at that point, my heart sunk to the floor. That's it. The race is gone. Lewis can't box. If he boxes, we might not see the checkered flag on the race conditions. How long is it going to take? I was praying for them to lose the keys to the truck at that point. Like any little thing just to help us not get started again. Lewis on those very used set of tires. What can they do? I mean, yeah, the FIA are at absolute fault for this one, and I'm absolutely disgusted with the way that some of this sport has been run. The sport is going to turn a lot of the hardcores off. It's coming into disrepute the sport on a number of occasions by just winging it, and he's absolutely winging it. And you can't do this when there is millions and millions of dollars at stake, and all they're doing it is for their own profile, for F1's benefit. But that is going to put a lot of noses out of joint. I think this one, whatever decision comes out today, tomorrow, whenever, it won't be the end of it, because we are talking about huge prize pools, and the World Drivers' Championship is the most coveted thing. We're not even talking about, the Constructors' Championship and how that swung around. But this is not over. It'll go on for a long time. It'll involve lawyers, sports, courts, etc. And they'll be running through that rule book for many weeks to come, because it has huge implications in terms financially, and with these new regulations for the forthcoming season as well, for their budgets, everything. So I hate that it's ended like this, and it shouldn't have ended like this. You have a sporting code. If you're going to let the lap cars through, fine. We got the message on the screen. Lap cars will not be allowed through, whatever it was that came up on there. It was like, fine. Max could still potentially do it. You know what he's like. He's an absolute god when it comes to fresh tires, full send. People are going to dive out the way for him. He could have even still got Lewis, I feel. But they changed their decision halfway through the lap. They let 5 cars through out of, I don't know how many that were lapped at that point. So it was like a half job. What could they do? Could they run it back a lap? It's quite unfair. It's only because we're on the last lap we're going to do that. But
yeah,
it's a shambles. It's an absolute shambles. We should be here crowning the toast to Max Verstappen, and that's it. Job done, whoever the winner was. But instead, we're having this stupid conversation once again because the FIA, and I know that Jean Todt is out the door this year. There's going to be big changes at the top, and they're going to have to sit down. This is their prize. The jewel in the crown for the FIA is the Formula One World Drivers' Championship. And at the moment, it is controversy. That's all you see on video titles and newspaper clips now, is controversy, controversy, controversy. I'm lost for words. I am.
Yeah, I get it. I fully get it. But that's the problem this entire season. It all started in Bahrain all the way up till now. The entire season, it feels like the entire Formula One is about politics, not racing. These guys should be racing, in all honesty. And of course, there has to be some sort of regulation thing. But if you get this every race, we've seen it last week in Jeddah. We've seen it now. We've seen it in Silverstone. Every time something happens, all the political books, all the lawyers, everything is being pulled in, and we don't know what's going to happen. But it's, in my opinion, it's a big mistake from everyone, because Formula One is about racing. It's not about giving penalties, giving fines, other stuff. We just want these guys to race, and the person who crosses the line first wins. So that's simple. But it's just not working in this system, and I think Michael Masi should be punished for it, because at the end he's the one controlling the entire regulation system, and it's failing. It's really failing, and these are the problems we have at the moment. Also in this situation, like the FIA needs to be punished, but if you punish the FIA, the drivers has to be punished as well. But these guys did nothing wrong in this situation as well. Max, Lewis, all the way to Mick Schumacher at the back. They did nothing wrong. They followed the FIA. They did what they had to do. And now everyone is looking at the FIA and all the people again, like, yeah, where am I ending? Like, what's going to happen? We don't know. But they did nothing wrong. So again, we're in a situation where we're like, yeah, what should we do? What can we do as a Formula One fan? Like, yeah, we don't know. It's, yeah, no words.
Yeah, I agree with no. I think it's a total shambles what's happened here, and it's become all about politics, and it shouldn't be. It should be about the racing, but the actions of Michael Masi and the stewards of the season have led it to be all politics. And don't get me wrong, politics have always been a part of Formula One, but it's just getting a bit ridiculous, really. And what annoys me more is the whole situation could have been easily avoided, because I think there was opportunity to let all the back markers through. Had they let all the back markers through when they should have done, we watched the lap before the restart. We watched them go past where Latifi had crashed. The track is cleared. There's no car. There's no debris. They've laid whatever dust down. Yep. All the marshals are now just walking off the circuit. Why weren't they allowed to unlap themselves then? Why did we wait until halfway around the lap, then have to let half of the back markers through, because we didn't have time to let them all through? why not just right at the start of that? You could have let them all go. They would have all got through, and we wouldn't be discussing this controversy like we are now. No one would have flagged it up as anything wrong. It's just ridiculous, to be honest. But,
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Like the FIA is making a problem from themselves. They are starting the controversy. It's not at this point. Not even Max did something wrong. The aggressive Max, he did nothing wrong. Now the FIA is fucking it up. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, why we're in this situation, money talks. It's all about the headlines. Michael Massey did not want this race to finish under the safety car. That's how it should have finished if he was going to follow the letter of the law, because he would have had to let everyone through. I don't think we'd have got that done by the time we crossed the start-finish line. And we probably, because we had people in the box, the lap earlier and stuff like that, they should have just said, no one's going to overtake the safety car. We're going to get racing at the end of this lap. And we've gone simple. Okay, we'll take it as it is. But instead, we're in this shit show of a situation. I want it to be over, like I don't want to be sitting here feeling like this. Max should be crowned the world champion. He should be able to go off, party into the night, and instead they're sitting here on eggshells, just wondering what the fuck is going on in our sport after such a, one of the most exhilarating seasons. And instead, we're just there because someone doesn't want to make the harsh decisions. Massey and the rest of them are too easily influenced by the mass media. Christian Horner, I don't want to see any more teams getting on the radio talking to Massey throughout the race, influencing his decision, putting extra pressure on him. That goes for Toto and everyone in this fucking sport. Okay, it's become, it's like a soap opera now. It's not the pinnacle of racing anymore. We've lost that shine off the top of it, and we've turned a lot of people off. I've got friends, who are casuals, and they're just saying the sport is a joke. I'm not going to bother watching any of this anymore. Instead of this being the climactic end, it's just a marred in controversy.
Yeah, I think it's also worth just briefly mentioning, of course, there are two protests going on. We've spoken about the main one, which is about the whole procedure at the end of the race. I will just bring up the other one, because that one, I think Christian Horner and Jonathan Wheatley, as we speak, are in the stewards room talking about it. It's Max overtaking Hamilton under safety car. We saw in that final sector, Lewis backing the pack up very aggressively. He was basically stopping, which he is entitled to do, don't get me wrong. There's no rule to say he can't do that. He was perfectly within his right. Max, I think, wanted to get on with it a little bit. He wanted to go racing. I think he didn't want to lose any time, knowing that he only had one lap to pass Hamilton for the World Championship. He didn't want to lose time being 10 meters back before they'd gone racing. Their Mercedes have argued that Max has overtaken Lewis, and watching the footage, it's really hard to tell if at any point Max just edges ahead, because I think that would be the thing that does it. If Max never edges ahead, Red Bull will go, we didn't overtake him. But if he does, then it's all up in the air again. I don't think Max should be penalised for that, because he didn't go past him, did he? He was alongside him for a while. But once the time came that Lewis had put the foot down, Max was back behind again. So I don't see any reason to do anything about that. But it's just worth noting that they're looking at that too.
Yeah, the problem about the overtaking on the safety car is that if someone brakes and the other one gives a little bit of throttle, you're alongside him, you're ahead easily. It's the same with the safety car and the virtual safety car. You need to be in a certain delta. You can't go faster, you can't go slower. But sometimes you go over that delta, so you brake. And I think that's the exact same thing as this. Max was alongside him. He wanted to push Lewis a little bit. He wanted to push him in that start, because he wanted all the space to overtake him. So he was alongside, but every time when Lewis backed off a bit, Max had to back off as well. But you need to react to that moment. And as Matt just said, when Lewis started his safety car restart, Max was behind him. He waited behind Lewis until the line, all the way up till the straight. So I don't think Max should be penalized for that. It's hard racing and maybe a bit unfair, but it's not illegal in my eyes. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, we've all been league racers and we all know about safety car restarts, this kind of thing. I think the way Mercedes are approaching it, it's not, I think he did go slightly ahead, if it's nose to nose. But he's sort of like restricted Lewis's ability to kick that restart maybe on that first left-hander at that point. And Max is very clever, you know what I mean? He's a wily old fox, like we say. And I think that's what's, got under their skin. If Lewis has got a better restart, I mean, this is sort of loser territory right now. Do you know what I mean? They're looking for any scrap that they can do to cling on to for hope that they can try and swing it back in their favor. I didn't see why it was so necessary for Max to put himself in that position as well, and potentially collide with Hamilton, because he was right wheel to wheel with him at that point. They're going very slow. It was a late call again. That's why we find ourselves in this situation. It was very late call that the safety cars coming in and everything. And, we know how fast these F1 cars are as well. Lewis needs to back up the pack as much as possible to not overtake it by the time he gets around that final corner. And he's just trying to think where the best place to do it is. And it's probably one of their traction zones. And he wants to be a bit careful of all that dust as well. I was really cool, scared that on them very used hard tires, he could easily spin it up and put himself into the bear at that point. But yeah, we're clinging on to hope. I mean, Max, he will learn that with maturity in time. Don't put yourself in that position where you could be summoned for something as stupid as that when you have a two-step fresher tire and a brand new set of softs on. When you know you're going to get it, you just need to line it up, lick the stamp, and absolutely send it, which he did to good effect as well. And F1, they just wanted to finish, racing conditions. I understand that, but at what detriment, at what cost?
Yeah. The only point I have about the restart again, Lewis had 4 more corners to go, and if I was Lewis in a league racing situation, I've had this plenty of time. Sorry. If the car behind has a new set of softs and you're on old hards, why are you going 4 corners behind the flag? Because he's going to catch up. He could have easily waited until the last corner and maybe get the exit until the line. Why should he do it? Because Max easily gained that time back when he crossed the line. Why was he going? I was like, hey, he went really early. In my opinion, I would have waited until the line. We've seen Max doing this in, I think it was Imola, Brazil, Imola. Wait until the line. You can't overtake. So why was he going this early?
I know what you mean, but he wanted the element of surprise. If you leave it to the last corner, then when he's going to get, drop the throttle and get going again. What's your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I think I can understand what Lewis has done. It's the textbook restart for a circuit like Abu Dhabi, because you use the dirty air to force the guy behind to drop back. It's like a sort of restart textbook stuff. If you're restarting where if the start finish line is a long way down the main straight and there's a lot of straight in that bit to the restart, you leave your restart as late as possible so the guys behind can't slipstream you on the run to the line. If the start finish line is at the start of the pit straight, as it is in Abu Dhabi, you go early and use the corners before it to sort of build up a gap with dirty air. Lewis did the textbook thing. I agree with Noah in the sense of, Max has got fresh softs. He's just going to catch back up. But I think whatever Lewis did, I don't think it would have made a difference. Maybe the only thing he could have done is sort of, really try to go late and caught everybody by surprise and then bolted when no one expects it. Or I don't know. I don't think it would have made a difference personally when he went.
Yeah, one thing you can be sure of is that Latifi will be getting a dodgy batch of Mercedes power units for next season.
Yeah, I feel bad for Nicholas because he's single-handedly thrown the whole championship up. Yeah, he's basically through his own mistake has given the championship to Max. He's taken it from Lewis, given it to Max. It's just, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, the worst part about this is now is, the FIA have made this about this incident here. Got some audio.
Yeah, I'm also watching the news right now. I can't see anything yet. No, nothing. Yeah, but What do you think about Valtteri Bottas? Because we didn't see anything about him this entire race.
I know Bottas was like nowhere, wasn't he? It was his final race for Mercedes, and he's just not on it at all.
No.
Like in qualifying, it's down the order, and then in the race, he dropped back off the start, wasn't making progress. Mercedes didn't give him the optimum strategy. That is worth mentioning. They did keep him out long so that Max couldn't do a second pit stop when he wanted to, because he would have dropped behind Bottas. But eventually, obviously, Max pulled out that gap that he needed, and then they just had to pit him anyway. But then even after that, you watched him trying to make his way through traffic. Yeah, he got some overtakes done, but it took him too long. It's just, again, I think we've said it every week we've done this podcast. Bottas is just not decisive enough in wheel-to-wheel racing. He just gets stuck behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, his power unit was also towards the end of its life, which would have put him about 2 or 3 tenths a lap down. That is because that Mercedes power unit does degrade quite heavily. They see about 3 to 4 tenths towards the end of its lifespan. That was the news that I heard coming into it, and that explained the qualifying lack of performance there as well. I mean, it was so tight this weekend, wasn't it? We saw Norris qualify P3, an excellent performance from him. We saw, who else was up there? We saw the Ferraris really come strong in the final round. And big
Carlos
shout out.
Sainz.
Yeah, big shout out Carlos Sainz on the podium on merits as well. He didn't get it later in the day, thanks to the stewards that we saw in other races, etc. But yeah, solid end for the Ferrari team, Matt. And Sainz, he beat Leclerc in the driver's standards. We wouldn't have thought that coming into this season, would we?
No, stole it away at the last gasp, and from Norris as well. He clutched up and took 5th in the drivers' championship. Absolute scenes from Carlos, and it's been his race pace. He's not been the number one over one lap, but over the course of a race distance, he's just been very calm and consistent, as we've seen throughout Carlos's career, and it's paid off for him. He's snatched away P5 from 2 very talented young drivers.
Yeah, so let's rewind a bit. Let's take it back to the start of the race. The energy, the tension. We had all the celebrities there. We had all the videos, you know, Max or Lewis, and it was anyone's pick coming into this race. An epic lap from Max Verstappen to put it on the pole position. I was really concerned for Lewis that they just wouldn't have anything to answer in the race. And I was also concerned. We saw some reliability issues once again for that Red Bull car with the rear wing. They replaced it 2 or 3 times, I think, over the weekend. And it's that lower downforce setup that they have where it's really on a knife edge. But he pulled it out in qualifying like he should have in Jeddah as well. How different it could have been coming into this weekend if he hadn't have had that last corner incident there. But yeah, great pole position. And you thought soft tyres, pole position, easily Max into the lead. But it wasn't as straightforward as that, Matt.
Nope, because Max, as we've seen so many times recently, just didn't get off the line well. He was struggled away. I don't remember what it was, whether it was he bogged down or wheel spin or what, but he was just slow off the line. Lewis cruised into the lead. And I was thinking, for God's sake, I was hoping that Max would be able to, on his soft tyres, get back ahead. Ultimately, that wasn't the case. He did have a good go at it. And there was some controversy surrounding that, which I think I've probably got a different opinion to both of you on, which we will get down to in a minute. But yeah, good start from Lewis, kept it calm, and he took the lead.
Well, don't beat around the bush. Then tell us, Matt, what do you think about that send? I can't remember what corner it is, the turn 6 or something. That sequence of corners. Lap 1, Max, full send. How did you rate that move?
I rate that a solid 8.5 out of 10, if I'm honest. I think there was nothing wrong with it. I think Max knew that he needed to go for it early because he knew that Mercedes probably have the better race car, which in the end they did, and that he needed that track position, especially to make his soft compound tyre strategy work. He had to be ahead. So he makes a lunge, and it was a very late lunge. It was very late on the brakes, but he made the apex, kept it in the white lines. So he has made the corner. It's not like it was in Brazil where they both just had to sail out wide, and that move wasn't on. But in this time, Max makes the corner. Lewis is on the outside. He's left the door open for Max, and at the time they reach the apex, Max is marginally, they are basically side by side, but Max is marginally ahead. I'd argue it's his corner. Lewis forced out wide, cuts the corner, and is allowed to keep his lead. I don't think that's fair. I think had that corner not been a chicane, had, let's say, there'd just been a straight after that, Lewis isn't able to cut the next corner to retake the lead. And I don't think the FIA would have then gone, oh, Max, you need to give up the position. They would have said then, oh, no, it's fine, just hard racing. I think Lewis has benefited off the fact that it's a chicane and is allowed to keep his lead. And they say he gave up the time, but I don't think he did. I don't think he gave up all that time. I think they never got as close as they were again, but not on from the FIA, I don't think.
Yeah, I get the lunch bit. And I do, like, I agree with the FIA to keep Lewis in front. The only thing I disagree with is the gap. He clearly had an advantage by cutting the corner. And yeah, that's about it. I won't say anything more. It's just aggressive lunge from Max. He made the corner. Lewis, was in front, but with a bigger amount of an advantage. So I think that's the issue. The overtaking itself, it's okay.
Pure and simple dive bomb. We've all seen it. We've all felt it. And that was a dive bomb. Now, since when do both drivers have to exit the track to make it a kind of a forceful maneuver, Matt? Because if Lewis turns in there and tries to stay on the circuit, then it's race over at that point. Lewis was smart enough to pull out of it, live to fight another day. Max forced him off the circuit. Max just about stayed on the circuit. So I feel that it was right to do what they done. Did Lewis give up enough time? I think he reduced it down to maybe 7/10 or something before they crossed the line once again. That is the only seed of doubt, because it's, again, a grey area. We're just making it up as we go along at this point. They both live to fight another day. Thank God it didn't end on lap 1, because I wouldn't have been able to handle that. And I would be absolutely losing my shit. It would be return of the vein. But yes, we continue. We carried on. And them soft tyres, the gamble didn't pay off, did it? Red Bull, they wanted to control the race. And it was a deliberate effort, wasn't it, for Red Bull? The start, both cars on the soft tyre go super aggressive, hopefully get Checo up into the mix. Great start from Checo as well. Got himself up into the order. And this was the difference this weekend as well. They could use Checo in a strategic manner. Red Bull haven't had this for forever, pretty much. They haven't had this since Mark Webber days, to have another car in the fight. And that proved to be a big difference in mixing up the strategies this season, especially in the second part as well. And fought like a lion in them. That opening stint went very long. I don't know how many laps he done on that soft tyre as well. He was towards the lap 30 mark or something. But a great opening start there. Norris lost out as well off the starter. Was very cautious, I felt. And Bottas started, was it 6? Ended up about 8th after the start. Very poor. Any other big incidents on the first lap that you can remember? Any real losers or winners?
I don't think there were any major losers. I know Norris lost a couple of places. I think that was about it. I will just quickly, before we move on, I will just come back to that last thing, because I do have my own little point I want to make. You said, since when do both cars have to go off for it to be a dodgy move or whatever? In my opinion, since Austria 2019, because you have to remember in that race where Max passed Leclerc with a lap or 2 to go, Max made the corner himself, but forced Leclerc off. And that time, the 2 cars did make contact. There was physically no way for Leclerc to make the corner because Max pushed him off. That move was deemed okay. So then how come in Abu Dhabi now pushing someone off isn't okay? It's inconsistency. FIA, pick one. Is it fair? Is it not fair? I don't mind which, just stick to one. Don't change it. And then, yes, the soft tyres for Red Bull. I don't know if they wanted the softs for Max. I know afterwards they were saying, I think they were saying they wanted it, but I don't know whether they actually wanted it, because obviously Max flat spotted his mediums. I think they were kind of had their hand forced to go to softs, and probably at the time, thinking they were going to qualify second anyway, thought, oh, well, maybe being on the softs isn't such a bad thing anyway. We might just be able to pass them off the start. But obviously, there was a kind of a role reversal going on there. But that's besides the point. It was a mistake to be on the softs for sure, because they were slow in the first stint. After like 5 to 10 laps, they just had no pace. The rear tyres had died. Max boxed, Hamilton boxed, Checo stayed out and did what he had to do. And yes, let's talk about Checo a minute. one absolute legend. When have you ever seen Bottas do something like that? That was proper good defending from Checo. And that was holding Lewis up to the maximum. Perfectly fair racing, did nothing wrong. And I just think that is hats off to the man that is Sergio Perez.
Yeah, fantastic defense. And Fernando Alonso-esque in the way he held up Hamilton, scenes from Hungary, just where he placed his car, even in them slow apex corners, he just parked it right on the apex. Was going a lot slower than he should have done just to hold up Lewis as much as he could. And even when Lewis got past, it still wasn't done. He put it back up the inside. Nothing to lose for Checo. So sad for him not to finish the race because he could have been on for an excellent result today. He should have been up in the podium positions. They really sacrificed Perez today, but Perez just proving how valuable he is. And we go back to a year ago, he didn't have anything confirmed. It was coming into the off season, I think it was, and then he signed the contract and got this drive. So a credit to the Red Bull establishment, and his respect level has gone through the roof this year.
Yeah, Checo really showed his pace today and his worth for Red Bull. And he helped Max out. He was Max's wingman. So fair games to Checo. He did a great job. He defended like a lion. And no one can change that. No one can take that away from him. So unfortunate with his DNF. I still don't know the reason for it. It happened after his pit stop, so it might have been some type of failure or something. I don't know. I guess we'll get the reason in a bit, but good race from Checo, and I hope he can get that performance next season as well for the Red Bull Racing team.
Yeah, I imagine the reason they probably boxed Checo to retire, I imagine he had some kind of technical issue. And I guess the fear would have been, had he pulled over on track at some point, had something properly failed and he had to pull over, we wouldn't have actually got any racing because they'd have had to keep the safety car out for another lap, which would have meant Hamilton's champion. So that's why they would have taken it safe and just brought him in to retire. Because end of the day, for the constructors, Checo being third or not didn't make a difference. So bring him in.
Yep.
Yeah, very clever by the Red Bull team. They knew there was something wrong with the car, and they didn't want to put a dent in Max's title hopes. So good, clever thinking on the pit wall. You're thinking split second marginal, but we saw Max box lap 14, slapped on the hard tires. Would be a bit of a challenge to get him towards the end. We saw both drivers commenting on that. It might be a bit of a managing situation, but we saw that with Lewis. Obviously, he was helped by the VSC, etc., to extend that tire towards the end. But they held up pretty well. So Max boxed, I think, lap 14, and then Lewis followed him, I think, one lap later into the box. He had about a 5-second gap, was it, at the time? So it was pretty comfortable at that stage in the race. And everything started to settle down a little bit until around lap 36, was it? When we saw, was it the VSC deployed? We had a car, I think was it Antonio? Was it Giovinazzi? We saw with a reliability issue, and had to retire the car on circuit. And I was praying not to have a full safety car at that point because, it
was the VSC came out, and it was Mercedes, wasn't it, who were the first ones to get round to the line and have to make the decision: do you pit and take the cheap stop, or do you stay out? And I mean, at this point, we'd already I don't know about you first, but I was expecting there to be a second run of pit stops. I was expecting, because Red Bull at this moment, they're just losing the championship. At some point, they're going to pull the trigger and they're going to bring Max in, and it'll be fine for Lewis because he's got the gap that he can just respond. So I was fully expecting both cars will make one more pit stop. The BSC comes out and Lewis gets there first. He has to make the decision. If Lewis pits, Max would have done the opposite. That would have been the plan. And Lewis would come out behind Verstappen on the road. Mercedes give up track position, which could have been crucial. Because now Lewis's championship rests on overtaking Verstappen on track, which has not gone well at any time this season. So that was kind of a massive no. So they had to stay out. Red Bull obviously boxed opposite, brought Max in, gave him fresh, hard tyres to go to the end. And it was up to him to close down that gap.
So was it the right strategy call, Noah, at that point for the Red Bull team?
Well, they had nothing to lose. So at that point, I think yes, because they were behind. They knew they weren't catching up to Lewis. So yeah, why not? You know, you have Checo behind. He won't challenge Max, of course. And there's no car in front. So why wouldn't they? And you know, a new set of hard tires. You can push till the end. I think that was the point, and they did it. And I think it was a good call. Yeah, they lost nothing. So yeah, I think it's a good call from Red Bull.
Yeah, always you have to do the opposite to the car ahead of you if you're going to have any chance of coming back at them. So we saw Mercedes. It was very late when we saw Lewis approaching that final turn, and you don't want any hesitation in that match. It could have led to a slow stop and even conceding the position, even if Max did box as well. So Mercedes took the higher ground. They kept the track position, but it was a cheap pit stop for the Red Bull team. And I mean cheap because we was under VSC. I think the delta was around the 17-second mark when they did rejoin back onto the circuit. And Max Verstappen coming back onto the circuit. Was it this stop or the first stop? I think it was the first stop. Was it that Charles Leclerc went spearing off?
Yeah, the first stop.
Yeah, that was a scary moment because it could have ended all there. He just maybe unsettled just by the sight of him, lost the back end. And what a save from that Charles Leclerc, man.
Yeah, it was an epic save. I don't know. Yeah, he entered turn 2 and Max rejoined. And I think he touched the curb slightly, Leclerc, and he just lost the back end and made an incredible save to keep the Ferrari on track. Yeah, I think Mattis' heart was exploding at that time.
Yeah, it was. I was very panicked in that moment. I thought he was going to crash, and my thought instantly went to, oh, and there's going to be a safety car, and Lewis hasn't stopped yet, and that's game over. And it was a very well held moment for Charles.
Yeah,
very
great
well
moment.
held. But he lost out as well, didn't he? He lost a number of positions due to that. So, yeah, attacking the corner too aggressively. But, yeah, flip back to the virtual safety car. Mercedes stayed out, so they're going to go to the end of the race at this point because 17 seconds, Max is only going to catch. And we're thinking at that point, as a Mercedes fan, I'm thinking, no, it's gone. We've got how many laps left? What, 22 odd laps at that point in the race to go? Surely Max Verstappen on a fresh tyre, so much younger, surely he's going to hunt him down. 17 seconds. It was less than it was 8/10 a lap. He had to do it, and it looked bang on the money. Then first few laps, Max was banging in the lap times, but Lewis, he turned it up. He started to use his tyres. I was concerned that he wouldn't have any tyre left towards the end of that stint as well. And we had them concerns come through the radio as well. We saw Norris in the final laps get a slow puncture, didn't we, from the curbs, maybe a cut or something to the tyre. So it was double jeopardy today. Red Bull went full attack on the strategy. And yeah, a lot of people played their part in this the final moments, didn't they? Because we had some lapped cars that was approaching. There was a lot going on. Four-way battle, I think that was in front of Lewis, which cost him a bit of time. But I think Max, in the grand scheme of things, maybe lost a bit more. What's your opinion?
Yeah, well, Lewis had the advantage, of course, of being 11 seconds ahead, and yeah, he passed the cars quite easily, I think. And Max, his pace was lacking at that time, and of course, he joined the group as well. So yeah, I think without the safety car, if the safety car wouldn't be there, Lewis would have ended up P1 maybe with 12 or 13 seconds ahead. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was unfortunate for both of them. They both lost time. I think Max lost a bit more than Lewis, but yeah, it is what it is. It's racing, and at the end, these guys went out of the way of both cars. So yeah, they just did what they had to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's part of racing in there. I don't think it affected one massively more than the other. It's part of it. It is what it is. And yeah, it happens.
It's at this point of the race that I'm starting to believe. I believe that it can come home, but I'm just praying that we don't see a repeat of Qatar. We was talking about Bottas, Qatar, taking the tyres a bit longer than maybe it's safe to do so. And then curbs, we saw the radio message, heard the radio message as well to say stay off the curbs around turn 15 or so, I think it was, which was the one that was concerning. They had to actually angle grind some of the curbs down on the Friday night, I think it was, after some concerns in the driver's briefing that they was too aggressive. You saw them, they're like little shaped pyramids, but thankfully we didn't see any dramatic failures. It was just Norris that really lost out, and that was another car for Max Verstappen to overtake as well. But yeah, heading into lap 52, I'm feeling confident. We crossed the line for lap 53. And boy, Nicholas Latifi is not going to get any favors from Mercedes. He's not getting a Christmas card. And he is going to be an outcast now, surely.
Yeah, well, yellow sector 3, and you see a Williams sideways on track. Yeah, just talking about the incident, I think it was really unlucky. He was battling with Schumacher and going off track as well, so he had dirty tires. But yeah, he rejoined the track, and the 3 corners after that, nothing was wrong. I think he just went. I think it was a driving error. He just went on throttle too early, lost the car, and hit the wall. So yeah, really unfortunate. Really unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate also for Lewis in the sense that of all the corners at Abu Dhabi, they've all got lakes of runoff area. But Mr. Latifi, at the one corner where the barrier is right there next to the circuit, that's the corner he had his moment. And he did end up in the barriers. But as you say, it's lap 53. I was thinking, well, that's it. This is race over. After the dramatic season we've had, race is just going to end under safety car. There's no way that they can clear that Williams and get racing again before the checkered flag falls, unless they want to red flag it. But I was like, they can't red flag it because there's no reason to red flag it. The only reason you'd red flag would be to make sure there was racing laps. But I was like, oh, that's not really fair, because had this happened on any other lap of the race, we would just be a few laps behind the safety car and then off we go. But it is what it is. Unfortunate for Nicholas. I saw a meme. It was Mick Schumacher forcing Latifi off the road so he gets dirt on his tires and then crashes, saving his father's legacy. Big brain play from Mick Schumacher. I like that. All part of the great Ferrari master plan.
Now, when I saw the incident happen, I was like, no. Yeah, all hope faded. You know, I got emotional because I thought, that's it. Full safety car, Max closes all that gap up that Lewis has defended so bloody heroically on those really old hard tires, more than double the distance that Verstappen done on them. And that was just eradicated away. I thought it would get cleared a lot sooner. I was just looking at the barrier. The barrier is a tough Armco. There was no damage to that one there. You just had to move the car out the way. And on the other side, there's quite a few points that you can wheel it off to. They did have to get the hoist out, I think, to lift it off the circuit, which cost a bit more time and tidy up the circuit. In the grand scheme of things, a red flag would have probably been the epic end to the championship. Both drivers on a set of soft tires going toe-to-toe for the final few laps. But, you know, that is just hindsight, as it were. But, yeah, we can't do it just because it is the final laps of the final round of the 2021 season. So we had the safety car out. And I was just praying every time that we cut away, looking at the scene of the crime, that that car was still there and that there was some kind of issue. But here we go again. We got on the message, the lap cars will not be allowed to overtake. And there was a big spread throughout the field, wasn't there? Because we saw drivers boxing even the second lap or so under the safety car, which really strung out the field. But we don't need to wait for the lap cars, do we? We should have just got racing and got going as soon as possible.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with you. It was weird how which cars pitted and which cars didn't, because obviously there was no guarantees that we were going to get racing again. There was full potential that we just finished under safety car. Unless you had a free pit stop, i.e. you could pit and not lose any positions, it was not worth taking the risk of going in, because you'd lose track position. And then if you don't get racing again, congratulations, you have successfully just thrown away some points. So yeah, ended up with, we had like 5 back markers between Max and Lewis, and then other various back markers dotted through the field. And then we're going to get heated again here, because this is where once again we come to the point of Michael Massey. That's the 5 cars between Max and Lewis are allowed past to get away and up the road. The rest of them are told, nope, you are not going to be allowed through. And he's not allowed to do that. You have to, if you're going to let the back marker, so you have to let all of them through. And the reason for that is, think about how this scenario plays out for Daniel Ricciardo, who is behind Verstappen, the first car behind Verstappen. He was right in that battle with the likes of the two Alpines, I think one of the Ferraris in there as well. He was right in that battle. And obviously, had we just got straight back to racing, he would have spent that final lap, once the other guys had to let Verstappen through because blue flags exist, he would have been scrapping them for the points positions. But because of what happened, they were all allowed to bugger off while he was stuck behind and effectively had any chance of improving his position taken away from him, which isn't fair towards him. That's why Michael Messi isn't allowed to do what he did, and now why it's created such controversy.
Yeah. No comment, that's it. I can't say anything else. That's it. Must fucked up.
It was a big fuck up as well, wasn't it, man? Come on. I either do it properly or don't do it at all. And we should have just got going. And I feel Max could have been on Lewis's tail by the end of that lap. And, he's just going to send one from the racing gods, as it were. Red Bull needed a miracle. They got one. His name is Michael Masi, and he deserves a huge hamper, a huge thank you this Christmas because, it looks all but lost for them. But I'm sure it's completely. They've talked about Mercedes bias over the previous years and stuff, but today has just proved that that does not exist, and we have a new Formula One champion in the name of Max Verstappen. It's taken him a while to get there because of Mercedes dominance, but he's got there. He's got there by pure, hard, adrenaline-fueled racing. He's brought some excitement to the sport. It's been an epic battle between the two protagonists at the front. I really feel for Lewis. He gave his heart, his soul. He done everything that he had to do today and in these last rounds, and really understood the car, got it in the sweet spot as much as possible. But it wasn't to be. Let's just leave it at that, shall we? I hope they just draw a line in the sand today and we can move on with our lives. Otherwise, I'm going to have this sick in my stomach feeling until it's resolved, lads.
Yeah, I just want this to be done. Honestly. I can't
you
find
can't celebrate, can you?
No, I can't. Well, I was... Oh no. Okay. Yeah,
that's what it's gonna be.
No.
What's going?
No, yeah, I was celebrating when he crossed the line, and of course Mercedes is protesting the win. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it won't change. Well, I hope it won't. Yeah, I can't find anything new. It is what it is. I don't know. We have to wait. That's the only thing we can do at the moment.
But the last lap, we saw a great battle, didn't we? I mean, Lewis didn't give up on them hard tires, even still. Like Max, no. I was surprised he left the door open. I know he wanted to get a good exit out of turn 5 or whatever it is and onto the back straight. But leave the door open. Max is going to walk through it. He done absolutely that. Squeezed Lewis a bit on the apex fairly. That is good hard racing. Lewis come back at him. No DRS, of course. Why doesn't Michael Masi just turn the DRS on? Like he can make this sharp as he goes along. DRS for Lewis Hamilton. You can have this. You can have that. And let's just go. Let's go ham to the end of the race. But no DRS. And once the end of the second DRS point, Lewis tried to go round. Was it round the outside there into that bank curve? And Max placed the car beautifully. Got the exit out of the corner, and it was written in the stars from there.
Yeah, it was a really good move. In my opinion, really smart driving as well. When he planned the attack, he went down the inside, of course, into the hairpin. He really squeezed Lewis to the outside line where all the dirty stuff is. So, of course, he had old hard tires. So Max had the opportunity to go down the inside. He went for it. He had the new soft tires, so his exit was better anyway. Lewis on all hard tires on the dirty part of the road. So Max really did a smart overtake there, and he defended great into the chicane and the second left-hander. Really clean from both of them. Fair racing, and that's what we want to see the entire season, in my opinion.
Yes. Anything further to add on that one, Matt? The final lap.
The final lap was so cool. I've never seen the end to a season like it. it was a one-lap sprint, heavily in favour of Verstappen with his tyre advantage. I mean, it was like Lewis didn't have much of a chance kind of thing, but I was so surprised Max went for it when he did. I was thinking he'll just wait for the straight and he'll do it like he tried to on the first lap, except this time he'll have the grit to just get it done. But he didn't. Lewis, like you said, I don't think Lewis thought he was going to do it when he did. So Lewis left the door open to make sure he could get the launch off the corner. So Max saw that gap, went for it, perfectly clean, left the space for Lewis. Lewis did have to sort of steer out to avoid a crash, but there was plenty of space for Lewis. Max didn't hit him. It was perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. And then he just had to hold on. A bit of weaving down the straights. They've gotten away with that many times before, nothing doing there. Lewis tried as he might to go around the outside, like Richie said, but on however many lap hold hard tyres, never coming off, was it? There was no way in hell he was going to get around the outside there. Max knew he just had to make sure that Lewis didn't get up the inside, because then Lewis could have just sort of launched it, run Max out of road, done something, but Max did what he had to do, got over the line, and is the world champion for 2021. Touch wood, because I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it was good, fair racing between the pair of them on that final lap, and I'm glad that it didn't end in any big shunts and both cars out the race. That was the biggest fear coming into this, that someone could be deducted points. Once again, the fact that they stated that they could deduct points and do all of this in the final round, well, why don't you do that in other rounds? You know, if you want to deduct points, do it for the Silverstone incident, or, you know, when they've come together in other points in this season. So again, big inconsistencies, but it finished Verstappen across the line, world champion 2021. The first time the Dutchman is going to be there with the trophy. Big up to Noah. I know how it feels seeing Lewis do it in 07. Similar echoes of that on the final lap drama. I mean, what a way to do it. We saw Hamilton P2. Valiant. I'm so proud of him. I can't explain it in words. Carlos Sainz on the podium. Well done to Carlos Sainz, and capping off a great second half to the season, really understanding the car. And he's really going to put pressure under Charles Leclerc. And then Tsunoda, Gasly,
Yeah, P4.
P4, P5. That's
Great
huge.
job.
Yeah, what does that do for the championship fight? Because they was battling Alpine. I think that's done it.
They didn't get ahead, unfortunately. No. I did have a check, but they unfortunately wasn't quite enough. They did come close in the end, much closer than I thought it would have been going into this race.
Yeah, Bottas finished where he started, P6, which is a surprise. Another one to benefit. Lando Norris, after that slow puncher in the final laps there, finished P7. Alonso P8 after, being out of sorts this weekend. A good result for him. Finishing ahead of Ocon, who looked really good in qualifying, got through to Q3. Good start to the race for him as well. Charles Leclerc, disappointing in P10, but picks up a point. Then Vettel, P11. Aston Martin was nowhere once again this weekend. No. And tragic, poor season for the Aston Martin team. Ricciardo, P12. Tough weekend for him. Stroll 13th, and your final finisher was Mick Schumacher, the sole Haas. We lost Nikita Mazepin this weekend, and let's hope that he recovers well. He's got the COVID, unfortunately, and let's hope it's not long COVID and he can recover and get back to business as usual. Our DNFs today was Sergio Perez, Latifi, Giovinazzi, Russell, and Paul Raikkonen on his final race, bowed out way too early in the Grand Prix. Was struggling around the back, had damage to the car after the brake-by-wire issue, which meant he locked up the rear tyres going into the corner and skittled off. But he will vanish into the distance now, and you'll never see Kimi again.
No, probably not. He's disappearing somewhere in Finland in the woods with his family. No, I don't think, I think it's of course a shame, but I don't think he really cares. I think he's just happy that it's over. No, I think he's just happy it's over, and I think he has a great time now with his family, and he had a great career, 20 years, 21 years. I don't know, honestly, 20 years, I think. That's just awesome. We all have respect. Every Formula One fan has respect for Kimi, just a legend, and we all wish him the best of luck in his future career, I think.
Yeah, it was sad to see him drop out of the race so soon. Would have been nice to see him get over the line. Everybody wanted to vote him driver of the day so they could give him the interview in the car post-race, but I reckon Kimi knew that, and that's why he pulled over. He knew what was coming, but he just got out of it.
Did he get driver of the day? Who got it?
Yeah,
He did.
yeah.
He got it. He still got voted driver of the
Yeah,
day,
he
but
got
he
it.
didn't
Oh,
have
no,
the
give it.
interview. But yeah, it was sad. I don't think it'll be the last we see of Kimi in Formula One for sure. I don't see him doing any kind of TV thing because he doesn't talk enough for that. So maybe he does rallying somewhere. I could see him doing some form of motorsport or having a go at Le Mans or something somewhere. But it'll be the last sort of full competitive championship like Formula One that he does. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kimi loves the race. He'll do like the one-off, not the World Championship rally, I don't think, but he'll do the odd like national events and stuff like that because he's a natural born racer. And big similarities as well because he stepped right up from, I think, was it Formula Renault or something like that, right into F1. There was an exemption made similar to like Max Verstappen, who come from, was it F3 straight into F1. And the Iceman, he delivered in them early stages. So he was quite unlucky to only have one title to his name. He won it by 1 point, didn't he, against Fernando and Lewis. What an epic season that was. But he is one of the greats of the sport, and he'll be dearly missed. His personality is completely different to everyone else. He does not give two fucks about what anyone else is doing. Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. And some great sound bites from the Flying Finn. And it will be replaced by Valtteri Bottas, who's taken a big step down, you'd have to say, going into that Alfa Romeo outfit.
Yep, but I think his time had come at Mercedes, and what other options were there for him? I don't see any other team. The only other option could have been Williams for him, but they took Alex Albon. So it is what it is. He's at Alfa Romeo next season. We'll see how they do in the new regulations. Obviously, they might be a decent team next year. They might be up in the midfield fight, but who knows? Only time shall tell. Other drivers moving teams. Obviously, we saw today George Russell's final race for Williams. Also didn't get to finish it. Had to retire because he was losing power, which was a shame for him. I think his only objective, though, in this final race was just to make sure that the team got 8th in the constructors, which they did. So good job, Williams. Well done. Very happy for them to not be last in the championship for what would it be, a 4th year running? They were last 18, 19, 20. So yeah, it would have been a fourth season running last, but good job from them to get themselves up. Giovinazzi, his final race in Formula One, didn't get to finish it. It was a shame. All the ones that are leaving or moving teams didn't see the flag. The only driver moving teams who saw the checkered flag was Bottas, and he had a shit race. So great.
I mean, grand scheme of things, would be happy with P6, but Russell, he didn't have the pace of the weekend. Outqualified by Latifi, slipped down to last position. Mick Schumacher got past him. Struggled with upshifts. The gearbox was losing, they say, gears, but it's when you're trying to select the gear and it's just not there. And it's hesitating. And then finally lost drive and had to retire. Great to see Giovinazzi as well with a tribute helmet to Kimi Räikkönen and representing Kimi. And considering it was his final race, he thought we might have gone all Italian or something with the lid design. We saw Russell as well with a tribute helmet with all the thank yous and everything on it. And some really nice helmets for the weekend. Let's big up Lewis Hamilton for going to these, I want to say, dangerous territories when it comes to human rights and the thoughts and opinions there and laws in terms of equality and respect for everyone's, freedom, as it were, in terms of beliefs. Let's get a rundown. So Lewis Hamilton, how he rates in his drive today. Let's give scores out of 10 for everyone on their final round and for the season. So I want 2 separate scores from all of you. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. How do you rate Lewis Hamilton's race and his championship charge? I'm going to give him a 10 for the race, and I'm going to give him a 9 for the season.
I will give him also a 10 for the race. Nothing wrong. Perfect race from him. For his season, 8.5. Not his finest championship. I think there were more mistakes. There were more mistakes than I've seen in other seasons for him, but he still put on a valiant charge and made Verstappen really work for it. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, I agree with Rich. A 9 for the season. A 9.9 for the race.
It's just
never
that
a 10.
little detail
It's never
missing.
a 10. It's never a 10. No.
Oh God.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
what about
9.9.
Max?
9.9.
Max Verstappen. For the race today, he could have done much more, but I think with the poor starts and stuff, I'm going to give him an 8 for the race for the season. I'm going to give him a 9 for the season. I feel that he quit. I would have given him a 10 if there wasn't so many flashpoints. Severely biased, of course, but yeah, a great credit to the F1.
For the race, I will give him. I think he made the mistake at the start, and ever since the car just didn't have the pace up until the last lap, obviously, when they had the fresh tyres. So for the race, I will agree. I'm going to give him an 8. I think it was a good showing from him, just not anything amazing. In the end, he did what he needed to do, but that was a bit lucky. As for his season, he is our world champion, touch wood. And I don't want to give him a 10 because there's room for improvement. I'm going to give him a 9. I agree with you. I think it's a fabulous season from him. He's put on a really good showing, and he's got unlucky at times and then very lucky right at the end. I think there's been too many moments where I think he still needs to grow as a person and mature a bit on track, because there's just been a few times where, yeah, there was definitely, he didn't need to put his car in a position that he did, and it ended badly. Yeah, we'll see him learn.
Yeah, I agree. I'll give Max a 8.5 for the race, because I think he pushed everything out of the car. The car just sucked today, and he outperformed the car again. For the season, I'll give him a 9. I think a 9. He really pushed everything out of it, and it's clearly Lewis and Max are the best drivers on the grid by far. And he challenged Lewis all the way to the end. So a 9 for the season and 8.5 for the race. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to Checo Perez. I think I'll give him a solid 10 for today. He done everything for his teammate. He sacrificed himself for the season. I'll give him an 8. It was a slow start. Of course, he's got time to adapt. I expect bigger things. It's going to be hard again next year, adapting to a new car, etc. But give him an 8 for the season. I'll give him a solid 10 for the race today.
For Checo, teamwork, wasn't it, from Checo? And for that, I think I will give him. I'm not going to give him a 10 because he didn't win the race, but I will give him a good rating. I'll give him a solid 9 for the race. Would have been lower because other than holding up Lewis, he didn't do a lot. He wasn't on the pace of Max as usual, but his work for stopping, he cost Lewis 7 seconds in the space of like a lap. That is amazing. So for that, Checo, you're getting a solid rating. For his season, he's had highs and lows. I will give it a 7. Decent rookie season for Red Bull, but we'll need to see improvement for next season.
Yeah, I'll give Checo a 9.5 for the race. No comments, just really good work. For the season, a 7.5. He did a good job, although it needs to be better next season. So yeah, 7.5.
You're way too harsh, man. Checo was sacrificed. He knew he was going long on the first stint. He had nothing to play with out there. But anyway, we move on. Valtteri Bottas. I mean, the race, 5. Season, 5. Mediocre at best.
Yeah, Bottas is definitely, from me, for the race. He's in a Mercedes and he was nowhere all race. He is having a 4 from me. What are you doing, Valtteri? Where were you? If Lewis is doing what he's doing, comfortably out ahead, pulling away from Verstappen, where's Bottas? What's he doing?
It, man.
Exactly that, Richard. And for his season, 5. It's just not been good from Valtteri. It's not been good enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll give Valtteri a 4 for this race. Nowhere to be seen this race. For the season, I think a 6 because Mercedes won the constructors because of Valtteri. He ended up on the podium at certain moments where he had to. So yeah, I think for the season a 6 for Bottas.
Okay, so who do we move on to next? I think it has to be the Ferrari boys. Carlos Sainz. I mean, for the race today, did he benefit from some of the strategy? Well,
Yes.
I'll give him an 8 for the season. I'll give him an 8 as well. I feel like it was a slow start to the year, but a great second half. Really showing some exceptional pace in that Ferrari car and taking to it pretty well.
For his season, I will say his qualifying could do with some work, but I think his race pace and his consistency has been phenomenal. Of all the people that moved teams this year, he definitely adapted the fastest, got straight into it in that new car, picked up several podiums across the season, and for that I will give him an 8 for the season. For his race today, almost reflected his season, didn't it? It was a quiet race, but he didn't make mistakes. He was there, he was consistent. In the end, the strategy paid off for him, and he did get himself that podium finish. I will give him an 8 for the race as well. Why not? Whack him with an 8.
Yeah, I go with you both. 8 for the race and 8 for the season. Good job from the Spanish driver for the Italian team. Yeah.
So Charles Leclerc, the team leader at Ferrari, good start to the season. He had some real high points, a lot of low points as well. I mean, I expect more from him. So for the race today, I mean, he was a bit unlucky, but probably a 6 for the season. Probably the same. It was a tough year for him. What do you think, Mr. Ferrari?
I think for his season, I'm going to give him the same as Carlos, and I'll give him an 8. I think that he has had some bad luck to the season. I think his pace has been very strong. And let's not forget, in the championship standings, he is only a handful of points behind Carlos. In P7, behind Lando as well, but still a very, very solid effort from him. For his race today, didn't see a lot of him. I think he got a bit shafted by one of the VSCs on the safety car. One of them shafted him over a bit. I will give him a 6. It was nothing special, not Charles' finest.
Yeah, for the race, I'll give Charles a 6.5. Just a general race for him. Not good, not bad. So yeah, 6.5. For the season, he had some ups, some downs, more ups. I think I'll go for a 7 for the season. Yeah.
Okay, then we've got the McLaren boys. So, of course, Daniel Ricciardo, new to the team. Lando Norris, kind of the team leader going into the season. And some real highs and lows for Lando Norris. Today, tough day at the office for him. Poor starts. Unlucky with the puncture. I'll go with, like a 6.5 for the season. I'll give him a 7. Could do better in a number of rounds. But, drove his heart out and had the better of Daniel Ricciardo for the first 2/3 of the championship, apart from Monza, of course.
I'm going to give him, for the race, 7.5. I think it was a decent race from him.
Yeah.
I think his qualifying was very strong. And I think he had that gear issue at the start of the race and then had his puncture, which ultimately threw him down. I think he was having a decent race. For his season, I'm going to give him also a 7.5. Very strong start, like really, really strong start. And then it kind of tailed off in the second half of the season. I think had he kept up his form all the way through, he could have had a very high rating from me, but we'll give him a 7.5 for a slight drop in consistency at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I need to go, guys, because I need to eat, and my parents are getting mad. So I'm going, but I'll give Lando a 7 for this race and the season a 7.5.
Well done to Max, and thanks for joining us, Noah. Great to have you on board.
No
as
problem.
always.
Thanks.
Go
I'll
celebrate.
speak to you soon, guys.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
See ya. Fuck, it's
So
not leaving.
we move on. Daniel Ricciardo obviously had that victory in McLaren. It could have been more than one victory. We saw in Sochi where it all fell apart because the immaturity of a certain Norris as well, which was kind of why I scored him so low. But Daniel Ricciardo, tough start to life in McLaren. Got the win though. Was up there on a few occasions, but he's got high standards. For the first season in that team, I'll give him a 7. Today, I'll give him maybe a 6 at best. What do you think, Matt?
For his race, a 4. I think I didn't see anything with Ricciardo all race. I don't really know what was going on with him. Not having always good days, so I've given him the same rating as Bottas. And as for his season, again, I've just matched Bottas. I'm going to give him a 5. It had highs.
He had a race win.
Bottas had a race win, but he just didn't have a good
He's in a Mercedes, man. Come on. Surely.
Yeah. Ricciardo had one really standout race all year. Other than that, it was a lot of mediocre and not good performances. So I'm just going to give him a 5. Definitely needs to improve for 2022.
So Seb and Stroll. Seb, poor again. Probably give him a 4 for the season, a 4 for the race. Stroll, even more disappointing for me. I give him maybe a 3-3. I'm just not impressed with the outfit. I think they're struggling with the package, but a tough season for both of them drivers.
Yeah, I am gonna. Okay, let's go for Sebastian. For his race, he can have a solid. I didn't see much of him. I didn't see much of Seb.
We didn't see much of anyone, did we?
He put on a good move on Lance. I saw that of him. Other than that, not a lot. I don't think the car was suited to the track. So for his race, he can have a 4. He can be like Daniel. For his season, there was one podium. One should have been a podium, almost a race win. I think, again, slight lack of consistency. You can have a 5. It's not been amazing, not been terrible. Lance Stroll as well. 4. No, I might even drop it to a 3. I might give my first 3 here because he just, it's a 3. I don't know where he was. That's his race. A 3. And for his season, he's having a 4. Slightly worse than Seb.
Too generous. Anyway, Gasly and Tsunoda, standout performance for them. Performance of the season for the team. Was it 4th and 5th at the flag? Tsunoda, his best performance in F1 to date. Good qualifying for him as well. A solid weekend for Tsunoda, and it all come at the end for him. Very disappointing season, but for the race, he benefited a lot. He was in the mix. Kept Bottas behind for a long, long time. Had a good opening scrap to the race. I'll give him maybe an 8.5 for the race for the season. I'm going to give him a 5 because it was a poor season from him. I mean, I know it's his rookie year, but tough for him. And in terms of Pierre Gasly for the season, I'll give him an 8. He was always there, dragging that team into Q3 on a number of occasions and getting the points on the board. The race today, another tough one for him. I'll give him a 7.
So for Gasly, I will give him for the race a 7. Did a decent job coming from a bit further down the order. So fair play to him. As for his season, 8, like you say, carrying the AlphaTauri team. As for Mr. Yuki Tsunoda, solid weekend from him. He can have an 8. All right, good stuff. Love that for you. P4, well done. As for his season rating, if only every other race was like Abu Dhabi, because the rest of them have all been pretty poor. What did I give? Yeah, you can have a 4. You can be Lance Stroll. 4 for the season.
Don't be like Lance. Be better. Okay. Kimi Raikkonen, poor season from him by his standards. I'd give him maybe a 4 at best for him for the season. For the race today, he's got to get a 10. We sign him off in style. Giovinazzi, I was quite impressed with him this season. A number of occasions, didn't quite convert, some solid qualifying results. I mean, we can't score him really for the race. It was a tough race. He didn't finish. So I'd have to give him a 5 for the race. But for the season, for Gio standards, I'll give him a 7.
Okay, so for Giovinazzi, for his race, I'm going to give him a 5. I think it was an all right race for him while he was going, but he obviously DNF'd, so you can't give him too much else. For his season, again, a 5. It was good at times, but he also made mistakes, which cost him points. Then we move on to Kimi. For his season, I think he's still out. Did he outscore Giovinazzi in the championship still? I think on the days it mattered, I think Raikkonen still delivered. I think it was just all of the other days he did bad things and spun and crashed into someone, and his age definitely showed to the season. For his race, ended quite soon, didn't it? it would be a 5, but it's his final race, so he's having a 10. Love that from Kimmy.
So Russell Latifi, I mean, Russell, he faded off towards the end of the season, but I know it is a controversial race, and potentially that's decided his championship as well, that we gave points in Spa. We gave points away when I don't think we should have. But anyway, we saw Russell inherit from that and got big boy points, and was in the points at a number of occasions as well. And I think we'll have to recognize that in a very tough car. And maybe he took one eye off the ball towards the end of the season, knowing that he's got the big boy drive next year. For the race today, I mean, I will score him. It was a very poor George Russell all weekend. I'll give him a 4. For the season as a whole, I'll give him an 8. It was a strong season for him. Very difficult car, but yeah, he's led the team well, and he can bow out. Pretty happy with what he done this season at Williams.
Yep. For George, he's having a 4 for the race. It wasn't on from him. He was just a bit, I don't know what was going on. He was just a bit down and out the whole race, and then had his mechanical issue. His season's been solid. 7.5 would be higher, but I think there's a few times he's maybe qualified high and dropped back in the race, and other times where, again, late on in the season, where did Mr. Saturday go? Because someone was getting into Q3 and then was getting out qualified by Latifi. And how the hell are you going to cope against Lewis Hamilton if you can't out qualify Nicholas Latifi? Moving on to Nicholas Latifi, for his race, it wasn't great, was it? Let's be honest. He was racing Mick Schumacher and then crashed, so he's having a 3. Screw you, Nicola. I mean, it did give Max the championship, so maybe he can have a 10 after all. For his season, it's not been a George season. It's been better from Nicholas in his second season. It's also not been a George season. 5. Why not?
For the season, he's been above what I've expected from Latifi. Yeah, he's got some credit where it's due this season for me anyway. I'll give him, by Latifi standards, a 7 for the season. I feel like he's been a bit more consistent. He's got to grips with F1 a bit more. And his performances, compared to Russell, who is the benchmark, has been pretty well of late. In terms of the race, I'll give him a 0 because, yeah, he destroyed all my hopes and dreams in those final 5 laps of the race. And the Haas boys, I mean, it's hard to score them because they drive in an impossible car. Mick Schumacher, we saw some, some wheel-to-wheel action with Vettel at Hungary and a few other times, but it's hard to judge both of these when they're just dawdling around the back. Mick Schumacher, for a rookie year in that, I'll give him maybe a 6 for today. Again, I can't score him. I'll give him a 6. Mazepin, for the season, very disappointed there wasn't more spins. So I'll give him a 2. And of course, didn't start today, so we hope you get that soon, mate.
For Mick Schumacher, I think it's been a bad rookie season for him. I think there's been a few mistakes, but that's what you expect because he's a rookie. He's driving a Haas, which is a shitbox. So I've just given him a 5 for the race, a 5 for the season. It's really hard to judge because the Haas is so shit. For Nikita, we can't judge his race because he didn't race. Hope you get well soon. As for his season, disappointing as expected. Some spins and a lack of spins for the entertainment factor. He's having a 3. Get better, Nikita.
Get better health-wise, but get better on track. I mean, you're asking for blood out of a stone, Matt. But on we march, and yeah, we're going to take a short break, Matt, and then we'll cap off in just a minute because I need to use the gents. So give me 1 minute. I'm going to pause recording, and we'll be right back. Yeah. So also huge congratulations this weekend for Oscar Piastri on taking the F2 title, and massive respect to him. He is a real shining star in the motorsport. Let's hope we get him into F1 very soon, Matt. He is reminding me of a certain Charles Leclerc in terms of his approach, his racecraft, and what do you make of the young talent?
Oscar Piastri is an absolute hero, and it is a travesty and a tragedy that he is not getting into Formula One next season because he's won, what was it, Formula Renault, Formula 3, Formula 2. This last 3 years, he's won a championship. Guan Yu Zhou's last 3 years. Do you want to know how many championships he's won? 0. He hasn't won anything, yet somehow he's getting to Formula One next season. Money talks. It's not okay, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, and that's why we've got some of the teams left in the sport, like, dare I say, Williams wouldn't be there without a certain, help from the likes of Mercedes with George Russell, and not charging them for certain engines. Then we've got Latifi paying for his way. We've also got the Haas team, who Gene Haas said, I'm not prepared to put any more money into this team. So we could have seen one more team off the grid, but they took on 2 new drivers. We lost Kevin Magnussen, which was a big shame, I felt, even though he always tells everyone, suck my balls. He doesn't care. But a great miss. And we saw in step, Mick Schumacher brings the Schumacher name, all of those daddy sponsors that he had throughout his career. And of course, Nikita, his dad has kept the team alive. This Urakai come in with big money in that team. And without them, they wouldn't be on the grid. So it is what it is. It's not nice. It's not fair. But let's hope Oscar gets a good seats. We're talking about the Alpine. So how many more seasons will we see for Fernando? And do you reckon he'll replace him potentially 2023? We're talking now?
Yeah, for Fernando to retire, it's a bit like, well, he's just come back. So I think he would want to do at least 3 years. I don't see him coming back saying he's got all the intentions of being a 3-time world champion and then not doing enough seasons to really get that. I listened to the Beyond the Grid podcast, where Fernando was on it, and Fernando's talking about this idea of a 3rd championship, not like if I win a 3rd championship. He's talking about when it happens. He is like adamant that he is going to win another world championship before he's done. So I don't see Alonso wanting to go anywhere anytime soon. Ocon's doing a good job in the other seat. I don't see them kicking him out to get Piastri in unless Ocon has a really shocking season. So what do you do with Piastri? Because you can't waste a talent like that on your reserve driver. Do they try and force Fernando's hand? Maybe.
And is he still allowed to race in F2? Because I've got something in the back of my head that a champion cannot race in that formula, which is controversial in itself. That you're going to penalize success. How can that be right?
Yeah, obviously the idea is that Formula 2 is a feeder series to Formula 1. What you can't do is be good in Formula 2 and then decide, you know what, I'm just going to spend my career here. I'm on TV. I'm maybe making some decent money out of the sponsors or whatever. I'm quite content just to sit here in Formula 2 and keep winning that over and over again. So the idea is, obviously, once you've won Formula 2, you can't do it again. You have to move on to bigger and better things. Obviously, that's not worked out for Piastri because, well, in Formula 1, there isn't a seat available for him, which is a bit of a joke. It's the same thing that happened to Nick de Vries. I remember he won the championship in 2019 and didn't get a Formula 1 seat. Pierre Gasly didn't get a Formula 1 seat straight away. He won GP2, I think it was then, and then didn't straight away get the job to Toro Rosso. It was only halfway through the year when they decided, do you know what? I really don't like that Daniel Kvyat. It was either that or Carlos Sainz decided he wanted to piss off to Renault because he'd had enough of Red Bull. One of the two led to the promotion of Gasly. But yeah, it's just a bit of a joke that you can win Formula 2, win Formula 3, and not be promoted to Formula 1.
Yeah, so where does his future lie? Will he go into a different kind of formula, or could we see him going to Super Formula over in Asia, etc.? I think that would be probably a good step to try himself in a different kind of car circuits as well. But yeah, let's hope we see him in F1 sooner rather than later. I'm going to make a very bold claim that we could see Lewis Hamilton not turn up next year at all, Matt, because I mean, after this season, the highs, the lows, the controversy, the standard of driving, the FIA, a lot of things have happened. We've seen it happen with Brittany, as well. I know he went out winning, but I mean, this kind of thing can leave a bad taste in his mouth. I mean, he's done everything he had to do this year. Is he up for another fight? Does he still have that hunger in the belly? I think he'll need to reflect on it. It'll be bold, but not impossible, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you in terms of it's not impossible. If the news came out tomorrow that Hamilton's going to retire from Formula 1, I would be shocked, but I wouldn't be like, wow, nobody could have seen that coming, because it is definitely a potential option for him. I think that he won't. I think he'll want to continue on and do at least one more year, but I could very easily see if he hasn't got a good car next season, he may well just jack it in and go and do something else for the rest of his days.
Yeah, I think that's more likely. You'll see how the new car hits the ground running. We haven't got long until that happens. I think they're testing. I'm trying to get tickets actually for the Circuit de Catalunya around the 25th of February, I think it is, that they'll be testing over there. And it'll be very interesting to see the different concepts. Another piece of crucial news is that Mercedes haven't used one of their tokens this season. They've basically come in with a 2-year-old car, okay, and they've saved some tokens for potential development, okay. I think they've kept something in the pocket, give himself a bit more impetus for the new spec cars. So watch out for that, because they could really hit the ground running in terms of the new car as well. Why they haven't done it, I don't know. Maybe they took the decision too late. We saw the last big update come in Silverstone, but in terms of the engine, etc., that's when we see the token system introduced in terms of the power units. So even though he had that spicy engine in the back of it, that was just a new internal combustion unit, and they saw a bit of deterioration in that. So it wasn't the full engine that was replaced for Lewis. Everyone talking about he had a faster car. Who had the faster car this year, Matt? Mercedes or Red Bull?
The 50-50. Red Bull had the quicker car to start with, and at the end it was Mercedes. That's the way I see it. I think it's been very marginal year. They've basically been the same, but I think at the start of the year there were more Red Bull favoured races, and I think at the end there's been plenty of very much Mercedes favoured races. So I'll call it 50-50.
Yeah, I feel like Mercedes had a great package coming into this year. It was pretty much the same car from last year. They didn't really heavily invest in it. It took a while for them to hit the ground running. They couldn't dial in the car was the problem for the Mercedes. I think Red Bull on the whole had the quicker package throughout the year. Let's look back at some of the races where they absolutely dominated. Even as recent as Mexico, look back to Austria, even at Silverstone, you know, that car was pretty much, you know what I mean, unbeatable, that package there. And then Mercedes just fine-tuning the car after that Silverstone upgrade and just understanding it throughout the year. Maybe having one eye looking at next year and going forward, maybe thinking they had a bit too much in hand potentially for this season. They definitely didn't benefit with this new reg change coming into this year. They lost a lot with that, and it did go towards the Red Bull higher concept package. But yeah, I'd say Red Bull had just the edge in terms of the package, the car this year. Of course, Max drove the skin out of it, as did Lewis in the Mercedes. But yeah, it was a close one, wasn't it? It ebbed and flowed beautifully.
Beautifully indeed. Yeah, gave us a very close season, which came down not only to the final race, but to the final lap of the final race of the season. Lewis Hamilton is now a guy who can say he's not only won a championship at the last lap of the season, he's also lost a championship on the last lap of a season. That's something to tell the grandkids, isn't it? That's a story and a half.
I'm sure Massa would have been going mad, wouldn't he, on that final lap then, and saying, "Ha ha, ha ha!" You know
now
how
you
it
know
feels.
the pain.
And we also see it with Fernando Alonso, that death stare into the camera at the end of it. We saw Lewis and absolute shell shock. You know, I felt something in the offing coming into this race, Matt. It was a bit surreal, you know, and even when Lewis did get into the lead, he pulled out the gap, you know, even when he didn't make that pit stop and he just controlled it, it was never over. You just sensed something was in the air, and dare I say, it was absolutely scripted. Last race, last lap. I mean, it was always scripted, written down, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was a season with so much controversy and so much happened. It's almost as if it was scripted, but fear not, because I'm sure if they did script it, there wouldn't be so much controversy after a race. Yeah, it's been an insane year of motorsport. And had Latifi maybe not crashed, we wouldn't be discussing any of the things we've discussed today. We'd be having a completely different chat, but Latifi binned it. The safety car came out. Verstappen is world champion, touch wood. I am sat here still looking at Sky Sports, trying to see what's going on, obviously, because there's two incidents that we're still unaware of, and it's weird, isn't it? We've finished the season now, and normally we're now celebrating whoever the world champion is, but we know who the champion is, but we also know that it might all change, because I have no idea what the FIA are going to frigging do about this whole only letting half the lap cars through, and I have no idea what's going to happen about Max overtaking under a safety car.
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible way to end the season. You know, you wanted someone to win it fair and square. May the best man win. I feel the best man today was absolutely Lewis Hamilton. He controlled the race. He done absolutely everything he had to. He was screwed over by the FIA. That is not Max Verstappen's fault, but it's just so sad that we're in this situation where we have to even have this discussion, and we can't just put a line under it and say the best man won. That is it. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. And we move on with it. But instead, they're bending their own rules. Now, the rules can be interpreted in a number of ways, because they say that the race director can choose to let the lapped cars through. And it says any lapped car may be let through. Any lap car, not all, but any lap car. I think there's, again, a very grey area under the subject. It was brought in to try and clean up some of the fights after a safety car towards the end of a race, etc. But it's absolutely marred this one, and these things will pop up time and time again. But it's sad that this is how motorsport is, and it turns a lot of people off. I mean, big time. And it's not, this season's delivered. It's generated a lot of interest, and it's just a shame that it's going to hit the headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Yep. For the fans of let's remember, this race was shown on Channel 4, which I think was really good for Formula One. This was a race shown on free to view TV. It was great, but now the people at home who've just watched Formula One for the first time because they heard about this great title fight and then found out, oh my god, it's on TV, I can watch it. This is their first experience of Formula One, and it's filled with controversy, and that may well just turn them off from it. So that's not ideal for the sport, but not much we can do now, because Mr. Massey decided he was going to make up his own rules, and here we are.
Once again, I hate that we have this protest about Max Verstappen potentially overtaking under the safety car. An overtake is an overtake, whether it's a millimeter or, by a country mile. Now, put yourself in the position. You're fighting. You won't know this, some of your fans, but Matt is a big esports driver. He's been fighting the likes of Snipes SB, etc. for race wins. You're in the final race. You're in Lewis's car. You now have Snipes all over the back of you on the restart. You want to get going. He pulls up alongside you, potentially slightly overtaking. The message comes back, give the place back, whatever. But he's compromised your exit out of a certain corner. How aggrieved would you feel if Snipes went on to win that race on the final lap? Put yourself in that position where Mercedes are coming from and what your feelings might potentially be. Would you lodge a protest like they've done, or would you just take it on the chin?
Okay. So I am Lewis Hamilton. He is Max Verstappen. I think in the moment, I probably would have been quite annoyed. And if for anyone who watches my stream, they would have heard me say some words that you could not say in a church. That's for sure. I think post-race, I think in the way it unfolded in Abu Dhabi, I don't think I would have lodged any kind of appeal, because it just didn't look like it really cost him anything. And then Max was fully behind at the restart. You're pulling at strings, and it does then really jump into that. Now you're in sore loser territory. Now you're clutching at straws. Just accept that he passed you and he won. Obviously, the thing about lapped cars going through, and not all of them, on that one maybe I would have done, because there it's a bit like, hang on a minute, you've not followed your own rules here. You've written up all these rules and you're not following them. What was the point in writing them then? So then maybe I would have done something there, but not for the safety car, I don't think.
Yeah, it's different if the lap cars took forever to try and catch back up, and they couldn't allow them all. But like you say, there was Daniel Ricciardo. Put yourself in his shoes. How must he feel as well in that position? But it is what it is. We move on. Max Verstappen, 2021 World Drivers Champion.
Touch wood.
Or not. But anyway, look, Lewis is a 7-time world champion. He's got enough championships in the pocket, you know. These things happen. We've seen it in 2007 where is that Glock going slow and heartbreak for Massa. So I feel like it's 1-1 in terms of that kind of finale in the championships, like we said. So we'll take this one. He'll come back stronger. Hopefully he comes back. How long he'll be in the sport for, it all depends on the new generation of cars. They're going to be so much slower, Matt. And it's so sad to say goodbye to this era of cars after, you know, it's delivered one of the most exhilarating championships we've had for such a long time. And I think this is reminiscent of 2012, where we had so many different race winners, such close competition. And then, you know, they're going to rip up the rule book because there was no decent racing, was there? But I mean, it just contravenes itself because we've had one of the best championships of my living memory. And we're going to absolutely throw that up in the air. And we could see Aston Martin win the next championship. Like, who knows?
Yep. It is a shame, the final race with these cars. And in terms of the chassis, it's sort of, this chassis has kind of evolved over the past sort of 10 years or so. I'll say 2014, I'll say, is the point I'll start this sort of chassis, even though it kind of, even before that, there were cars that looked very similar in 2013 to 2014. There was just a change of front wing. So they sort of evolved over the years, and now we are having a drastic change. Like, these cars are properly new cars. They do look very different to the ones we're driving now. It's still got a rear wing and a front wing and a driver in the middle of it, but other than that, they do look different. And I hope, and I understand why they changed it, because the racing still wasn't amazing this year in terms of drivers being able to go wheel to wheel. We saw it today for a lot of the race.
Yeah,
guys just couldn't catch and pass the car ahead. And that's what the new rules are trying to do. They're trying to make it so we can actually race each other, not just have to sit behind for forever because we can't overtake.
Yeah, and it's again down to the precision of these drivers. They're on the edge of absolutely everything. And let's hope the new cars deliver, but say goodbye to track records, lap records, because these cars are going to be well off the pace when it comes to that. So it's going to be a long time before we are, you know, potentially breaking any more, you know, lap speed records and this kind of stuff. So, yeah, I, for one, are very sad. And yeah, another big change, 13-inch wheels will now become 18-inch wheels. We're going to have a lot less profile in the cars. It's going to be a lot tougher ride for the drivers, a lot more brutal on the bumps, especially on some of the older circuits. Going to feel it a lot more. They're going to be a lot more skittish. I predict a lot more accidents, lockups, and collisions potentially. And who knows how these new tires, because they're going to be low profile, more similar to your road tire that you'd have on your car, Matt. And yeah, Pirelli will be in the spotlight next year as well.
Yeah, Pirelli are in the spotlight all the time, Richard. They're never not in the spotlight. All we talk about is tires and politics. It's tires or politics. Welcome to Formula One. I mean, you think back to Baku this season. Had Max's tire not blown up, he would have won the championship in this race, whether he passed Lewis or not. So we wouldn't be having this big debate. But
ifs, buts,
yeah.
Maybes. Right?
Yeah, exactly. If only Pirelli could build some tires that didn't do stupid things. Yeah, we'll see how Pirelli's tires cope next season. The drivers will be tougher for them, like you say, more spins, more crashes potentially, which could be fun. Rest in peace, Nikita Mazepin's front wing. Yeah, I mean, the whole car's changing, so it's just another thing to throw in there, isn't it?
Yeah, and we say goodbye to Honda this year as well. Remember, this is the Honda's last year. Kind of, yeah. A lot of their personnel will move across to Red Bull, who will inherit a lot of their technology, infrastructure, and continue that under a new guise. We're going to lose the MGUH soon as well on the cars. I don't think it's for a few seasons, is it, Matt, when we get the engine reg update? But big things in the offing, and that might potentially attract some new manufacturers. Let's hope we get some big brand names enter into the motorsport, potentially an Audi or any one of them as well. But I want to say the future is bright, but I'm worried, Matt. I'm really worried about where the sport's going, the direction. We need someone really strong to take charge of it now. A no-nonsense approach. Where is Bernie? We need Bernie Ecclestone back at the helm, who will absolutely get rid of all this. He likes a pound note, Bernie, but it was his way or the highway. He's very forceful, and I know it's old school, but yeah, it could turn a lot of fans off. A lot of the politics that we're seeing, it's not about the racing. The rules need to be tightened up, and we need to just get back to business as usual, which is, yes, let them race, but if this happens, that is the consequence. There's no grey areas. It's slap, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and that is it, yeah?
Yeah, let's get rid of the grey areas. That's all we need to do. Let's tidy up the grey areas.
I've got a lot of grey areas around here, especially.
Rich, I said tidy up the grey areas. Yeah, if only it were that easy. It will be. I'm interested to see whether we still have Michael Massey next season, because it is, if what he's done, if they do determine, yes, this is illegal and you can't do that, which as far as I'm concerned, having looked at the rules, I'm pretty sure it is. I don't see him still having that job, because if he's basically going to make up the rules, what's the point having him there? Because he's now effectively just a dictator.
But it's like, who do you bring in as well? Like I say, it shouldn't be down to one person. Like, there's a stewarded panel for a reason, so he should be there to support the stewards as much as possible. But one man to call the shots, he should be able to call safety cars, red flags, VSCs, that kind of stuff, you know, when it's safe to go racing. But to get involved with penalty situations and to contravene the letters of the law, which we're talking about in terms of the FIA rules and regs, which are set in black and white, this is where I have the problem. You know, I know some of his terminology in the Jeddah was like, it was ill-advised the way he stated, you know, this is the deal. You know, some of the wording was very wrong. It's like, either you give up the place or this is the consequence. Like, it shouldn't be that. It should be, this is the consequence, and that is it. We move on. But he's taken way too much of the spotlight. Charlie was always there in the background, respected. You know, I felt sorry for Massey in the last round. I did, because of the scrutiny he come under. But after today, I'm disgusted. But who do you replace him with? You know, who do you replace him with? It's a very tricky one. Do we put Matthew Connerbeer there as the race director? I'll support you. I'll be your wingman. We're never gonna get a decision right, because we're gonna differ on every opinion, like we love to do, Matt.
No, don't put me and you in charge. That could only end one way, and it is terribly. No, not happening. What Michael Massey has done is not on, and I don't know who they would replace him with, but I don't know. I think they need to rethink that position about what powers he has, because it's just, he's making mistakes that have now potentially deciding world championships. So do a better job, Michael, please. Thanks.
Yeah, he's got to be like under review. I mean, it'd be harsh to sack him, but he's got to have a big debrief after this season. They've got to take a lot of the power away from him. Say, this is what you can do. This is not what you can do. I mean, he can refer stuff to the stewards. Like, should he even be able to refer stuff to the stewards, or do the stewards just decide on an outcome of a situation? It should be that. I don't like this speed dial from Mercedes and Red Bull, where we see this it's kind of like the parent where the child can do nothing wrong. They're just on the blower, and it's just, I mean, it's not what you want to see mid-race. We want to hear the drivers complaining, yes, F this, F that, but I'm tired of hearing Karen and Toto going toe-to-toe throughout the season. They need to cut that out now. And if they have a problem, lodge a protest after the race and we move on. But like we get today.
Yeah, I will say it was quite funny listening to when Toto was screaming at Michael after the race about how this is not right. And then Michael comes back at him and just says, Toto, we had a motor race. It was so funny. And then Toto was just like,
it's not funny, Matt.
It was hilarious.
It's
Toto
not.
Like, you what? We had a car race. It's just like, come on, Michael. Because all the times he gets given all the shit from all the team principals about how he's doing a terrible job. It was just nice to hear him for once fight back and be like, shut up, all right, let me do my thing. I mean, what he did in the end may have been wrong, but he at least fought back today and didn't just sit there and take it.
Yeah, I think we've gone too far in terms of privacy, the boundaries. We want to hear certain team radio and stuff like that, but certain things should be kept behind closed doors at the same time, these kind of conversations, and it wouldn't bring the sport into so much, controversial topics and stuff like that. I think we need to wind it back a bit more. The access is way too much. But we move on. The championship's done. We're going to be so sad we've got no racing now, Matt, for a few months. It's going to be, was it March? We're going to get going again. And
20th of March, Bahrain Grand Prix. That's how long we have to wait.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the Middle East. And I think we've got 2 test sessions. I think maybe 6 test days before the season opener. I think we've got the Circuit de Catalunya. Hopefully I can get there and get some live footage for you all on the new cars. I've been waiting for this new era of car to come out for so long. We've been delayed. And but yeah, let's just wrap it up now, Matt. We're waffling. I'm waffling anyway, but thank you for joining us. This has been the roundup. We'll probably get another podcast later in the week, Matt, because it's not over.
No, something's going to happen and we're going to have to talk about it. And one of us is going to shout at the other and Richie's vein's going to come out and it's all going to be, fun and games.
My opinion, the FIA don't have the bottle to do anything severe. I'll leave it there.
Nice.
Good night.